Your battery just went down to the camera.
Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate you being here very much. I know you have better things to do on a Thursday afternoon, but I appreciate you being here with me, and I'll try to make this as succinct as possible. This is something that I'm doing for my master's class, but also something that I happen to be very passionate about. This particular method that we'll be talking about today is something that we actually have implemented here in this classroom. And there's a reason why that I became interested in the TEACCH model. Bottom line is I recognized several problems with general teaching, especially when it comes to teaching children with autism. They get really frustrated really easy when it's something that they're not grasping and they're not understanding. It's a communication issue. And unfortunately, I see more of a focus on the general curriculum that is necessary with autistic children, and they get really frustrated. And so the TEACCH method is something that I chose for us, but upon studying it, I realized it was a lot more than just our experience here in this room, that's meant to be across every domain that the child goes to. And we'll get to that in a few moments. But that's what I want to share with you today is the TEACCH method. I believe it is a pathway to a lot of success for students on the autism spectrum. In case you don't know what TEACCH means, it's just an acrostic, treatment and education of autistic and related communication handicapped children. And it's just, but of course, TEACCH for short. TEACCH requires teamwork. It requires more than just one educator. It requires more than just one room. It's across several domains. Educators, other professionals, even parents should be involved in this whole process. Springer and Business Media did a 3-year study. And the thing about it is they studied across multiple environments, several different areas that the child goes to. They studied in an inclusion classroom, and in a residential facility, and in the home. And they found when TEACCH was implemented across all 3 of those domains, with each child, their education was significantly impacted. And so that's why I'm a big believer in it. Improved social skills, life skills, even academic skills. It's just a huge benefit to use the TEACCH method. Also, just so you know, this isn't one person's opinion. This is there's mounds of research about TEACCH out there. I've just listed just a few here for you. Scholarly articles, reputable websites, other professional writings, just a huge amount of research done over TEACCH, and they all validate what I've come to know. It works, and it's a proven and wonderful method. So what does the research prove? Bottom line, TEACCH can and should be implemented in all areas of the child's life. At school, at home, even on the bus, believe it or not, all areas that touch that child's life, TEACCH can be used. And the more natural the setting, the better. And we talk about natural setting, and that brings up all kinds of questions. But bottom line is, the more comfortable the child is, the better the child is going to learn. And that's why the general ed classroom, if it's not structured correctly, which we'll get to that in a moment, it's really handicapping further our autistic children. The natural setting that's where they have to be to learn the best. And everybody involved should be doing the same things all across the child's environment. So you can see a lot of collaboration, a lot of teamwork. It's not up to one individual. And if everyone's not on board, it dive bombs the whole situation. So it's just too important. Benefits of using the TEACCH method. The child is going to gain independence, they're going to gain self-reliance, they're going to gain confidence, they're going to have a feeling of self-worth and a value, and then that's what we want for our kids. Of course it is. And so you take an autistic kid who's in this learning environment and is being taught these things that he or she can't possibly catch up to because they can't even communicate to understand it. It becomes a huge problem for those kiddos. And that's why it's so very, very important that we implement such a method that they can learn, they can receive the communication that they need, they can master their own environment, and thus they'll have that feeling of self-worth. It's just too important. I'm going to reiterate a very, very key point is teamwork by everybody. Everybody doing the same things across every environment for the child. I need to reiterate that because that is central to the TEACCH method. If I'm the only one doing it, it's not nearly as effective as it could be. Better than nothing, but not nearly as effective as it could be. If all these other professionals are doing those same things, it's going to result in substantial gains for the child in their learning. It's just a improvement. And again, I shared with you the research a moment ago. It is a research proven model, so it most certainly works. There are some limits to how we can implement it. There were a few limitations in the research. I won't bore you with those, but in particular with implementation, there's some limits, unfortunately. Some educators are resistant to change. They've taught the same way forever, and that's the way they're going to teach. And so having to change that and having to restructure their environment, not really interested in doing that. However, my research would prove to you that when done in an even in an inclusion classroom, where it's not a self-contained room, when that teacher can structure their environment and structure their teaching correctly, it's tremendous, and children do learn. Even the most severely autistic students in an inclusion classroom can learn if the TEACCH method is implemented. Some schools, unfortunately, are more concerned with the curriculum to take a chance on making such a change to reinvent the way that we educate our autistic children. But it's, in my opinion, it's worth a shot, and we're trying to prove it here, and it's happening well. The other problem with implementing across all domains, parent and school relationships, sometimes they're strained. Sometimes the parents don't trust, sometimes the parents have questions, and it makes it difficult to go all the way across even to the home and get the parent involved in what we're doing. Not to mention, I think parents don't want to be told how to raise their child, which isn't the point. And so my intention is to approach from the other end, hey, what do you do at home? And get that parent on my side to where hopefully they feel the value that I'm not trying to teach them, I'm trying to glean from them and what they do at home. If they don't do anything, I can fake my way through to where they will feel that trust. It's my plan anyway, and we'll see if it happens. But we got to have the parents on their side to make this the best that it could be. And finally, another limit to implementation is it just takes a while to structure it. And the longer it takes, that child's still having behavior issues. And they're still doing the things that they were used to doing before the structure. And so then, as educators or as a parent, we can look at it and say, well, it's not working. It takes patience. It takes a while to build that structure. It takes a while for that child to be used to it.
Alice and Chloe Scott, please come to the office. Alice and Chloe Scott, come to the office.
So how does TEACCH work? There are 4 vital components, very important components to the TEACCH program. The first one, boundaries. Areas should be clearly identified, and the reason for the areas is not just another place to put them, but specific things happen in those specific areas. And here in our room, we have 4 different areas. We have our group learning. We have here where we do some educational videos and some other things. And over on the other side, we have our snack area. We have our one-on-one teaching station. And when those autistic children enter these areas, they know exactly what they're going to be doing. They don't have to ask. They know when they go here, I'm going to be watching an educational video. When I'm in that one-to-one area, I'm going to be learning specific things with my teacher. And they already know that because that's what they do, and they've come to recognize those areas. So in a classroom, dividers can be set up. I have a rather large classroom, it's easier for me, but even in an inclusion classroom, setting up dividers to denote different areas. At home, it could look like, in a home, you've got all those different rooms, and you can identify those different rooms. Now, here's where it gets interesting, is tying that home environment to the school environment. They're obviously completely different. But I'm pretty sure we could take care of that by some simple things. Let's take, for instance, our snack area. If I put a blue triangle over on that snack area, and I give as a parent to put a blue triangle at their kitchen table where that kid knows he's going to eat, there's an identification there. It's not the same environment, but they're identifying the same thing. I eat here, and I eat at the table at school. If they could put a green square at their TV, and I can put a green square here, and we're all pointing that out, it's just a way to tie it together and to let that child know that their environment is secure and that their structure is secure. And the same things are happening in those areas. Just some things that I really think that we can do to bring a sense of sameness, if you will, to that child and to the child's life. Another component, predictable schedule. Again, doing the same things the same way every day, day in, day out. It doesn't change. This is what we do. And that is so important because that kid needs to be able to recognize exactly what they're fixing to do. And because we do that, they already know. They know exactly what's going to happen before we even tell them. And that's super, super handy. Another component, visual schedules. I call them picture sequencing event organizers. It's a huge, huge way of saying it's just a picture schedule. And I have about 5 throughout my room. And it's true. It's happened several times. A kid will come to class, and I'll tell them, okay, hey, let's go do this. And they'll say, I'm supposed to go to the bathroom first. Because they know. And they already understand that because they see on my picture schedule, they see that toilet, and they know that's the first place they go. And so that's the power of that. In the picture schedules, you can mount them on a wall. You can mount them even on a yardstick to make them more mobile, to be able to show the child, if they won't come to me, I can go to them and I can show them their schedule. And it's just very helpful. And finally, the last and perhaps the most important component is work systems. Those children need to be able to operate independently. And our work system really helps them to do that. And so I just want to demonstrate that real quick. Our work system, this is a great example. This is our friend Jonathan. Our friend Jonathan, this is his workstation. It's actually attached to the table with Velcro. And he knows when he comes in, first thing he does, he didn't even have to ask us. He knows the first thing he does, he's going to take this, take it right off of here, and he knows he's going to go to our wall of task boxes, and he's going to find number 04. And he's going to bring that back to his desk, and he's going to set that down, and he's going to complete that task. Now, when he does, he would have already had selected something that he wants to do, which I'll explain this a little bit better in a moment. But he will have already selected something that he wants to do, and he'll know that when he completes all 3 of these items, you'll notice 3 of these that represent tasks, and then you also recognize 3 of these manipulatives, which also symbolizes these tasks. And each time he finishes this, he takes one of these off, and he's able to track for himself exactly how far he's got to go before he gets to do this. And once he's done all 3 of these, and he takes all of these off, and he knows he gets this to spend 10 minutes playing with these toys, and he's able to track his own day and his own learning, and he can really identify this really easily. So it's just handy, and you'll notice also here, and I apologize, I meant to mention this, but the research tells you to work very left to right, so they know they come here. And we didn't even tell them that. Matter of fact, before I did the research for this class, I didn't know that. But they come And they go right here every time. They go to the left every time. It's really uncanny. And they'll work their way across here. And the first triangle they'll take off. They'll take off the left triangle first. It's really interesting the way they do that, especially those autistic kids. It's really uncanny. And finally, the end result of the TEACCH method is just really plain, really simple. Improved socialization, mastery of specific life skills, even educational achievement. It's just a wonderful thing, and the best thing I can say is the child wins, the child learns, the child's becoming a master of their own environment, and that's the whole point. We want them to have that sense of self-worth, and that they can figure out, I can do this, I can learn. It works for us, and I'm learning so much more after having done this. I'm excited to implement a few other things that I haven't quite done yet, and I'm very interested in reaching across into the home, into parents, and figuring out a way to win that partnership so that they can do some of these things at home, because that's the important thing. If we can do it here, if they can do it at home, that child is going to master their environment, and they're going to learn more, and that's what we want to see happen. So again, I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions along the way, feel free to let me know, but thank you for giving me your time here today for this. I appreciate it.